If you need to write professional emails in English, you've come to the right place. I'm Ellen from ZellenEnglish, and today I'll take you through the full structure of how to write a professional business email. I do have over 10 years of corporate experience in America. I started my career working for a Fortune 100 company, and I used to work in financial services. And I was a team leader, and I have experience writing emails to people at all levels, including executives, outside clients, and even making announcements for entire departments. The way you write a professional email can really impact the way that the reader is perceived. So I'm going to teach you all of the different details and the nuances of how you should word your professional emails to sound as professional and polished as possible. Let's jump in. First, you need to address your recipient. So we call this a salutation in English, and you're going to use a different salutation based on the tone and the level of formality. So first, the most formal salutation you can use would be to say, "Dear Mr. or Mrs.," and then their last name. So for me, someone could say, "Dear Miss Yang," and then put a colon. Now, this is a very professional and formal salutation, and typically you're only going to use this if you are a business and you are writing to your customer. So I've noticed that usually I will receive emails that say, "Dear Ms. Yang," from a hotel, maybe if I've made a request after booking a reservation. But for most day-to-day situations, this is going to be a little bit too formal. Now, if you want to take it a step down in formality, but still keep it very formal and polite, you can say "dear" and then the person's first name. So for me, someone would say, "Dear Ellen," and then you can put either a colon or a comma. Now, this still feels quite formal, and you could use it for situations if you are sending out information to somebody you don't know, but you're not necessarily trying to have a conversation with them or keep it conversational. So if you want to do that, that brings us to our next level down of formality. And this is actually what is used in most business situations in the modern day. You can just say "hi" and the person's first name. So for me, someone would just say, "Hi, Ellen," with a comma. And almost all of the emails that I get from even people I don't know who are trying to do some type of business with me, they start with "Hi, Ellen." The reason they do that is because it's someone trying to have a conversation with me, and typically after that, they go into some type of a business proposal. And then when I respond back to them, I would say "hi" and then their first name. So in most situations, you can't go wrong. But I would say that if you are emailing somebody who is much higher than you in status and level, then you're going to want to err on the side of caution and do a more formal greeting. So "hi" and the first name is going to be okay in most situations if the person is a similar level and status to you. If the person is your customer or if there's somebody very high ranking, then you might want to go with the more formal, "Dear Mr." and then their last name. If you're emailing back and forth with someone several times, it's actually best to still use a salutation every single time. So example, someone would say, "Hi, Ellen," and then I might say, "Hi, Bob," and then we might go back and forth like that 5 or 10 times. While that might feel tedious, it's actually important because it does keep a level of professionalism. Sometimes if people drop the salutation completely and they just start with their message, it can really start to seem a little bit too informal. Now, I'll give you a pro tip. Actually, very high ranking people oftentimes communicate very informally. So let's say you email an executive. They write you back. They don't say your name at all. They just jump right into the message. That's actually quite normal, but I recommend still keeping the salutation and keeping a more formal tone on your end. So something that I like to say is do what your career can handle. And with high ranking people, their career can handle doing that. Maybe yours can't yet. If you're emailing a group at your company, like let's say you're emailing your entire team, it's very common to just start the email with "team, comma," or "hi team, comma." If you're emailing a really big group, like let's say it's your entire department, it's very common to just say "all," comma, or "dear all," comma. So that's formal, but it's also a way to acknowledge that you are emailing a large group of people, and then typically the audience is understood because they'll be able to see who is on the distribution list. Next, I want to cover a couple of salutations to avoid. So, starting an email with hey and then the person's name is a little bit too informal, and I don't recommend doing that. If I receive an email that says, hey, Ellen, it comes across as coming from someone who's very young or inexperienced. The next one to avoid is saying, hi, dear, or just dear. So we don't typically call a person dear in a salutation. So if I receive an email that says, hi, dear, it immediately tells me that this person is not a native English speaker, so avoid doing it. Now you're ready for your opening line. So if you're emailing someone directly and it's someone you don't know and you want to be very formal, it's standard to say, I hope this email finds you well. Now, this is very formal, and I only recommend doing it in certain situations where it's someone you don't know and it's going to be followed by a very formal message. If you want to keep things a little more conversational, it's more common to say, I hope you had a great weekend. If you're emailing the person on Monday or Tuesday, or if you're emailing near the end of the week, you can say, I hope you're having a great week. It's a friendly way to open the email, and it can be used for an email about almost anything. If you need to follow up with someone, let's say that you've emailed them several times and you aren't hearing back, you can start the email with, I just wanted to follow up on, and then say what the subject is. I just wanted to follow up on the email I sent last week. Did you have a chance to review the report? Saying, did you have a chance to do something is a very polite way to ask somebody if they've done something without being too pushy. And then you can say, I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts. It's another polite way to tell them what you need from them because you want them to review something and then tell you what they think. But you say, I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Another way to follow up is by saying, I'm hoping to check in on something. So you could say, I'm hoping to check in on the team's progress. Were we able to make a decision? So another pro tip is to use the word we if you're asking someone for something or you're talking about the work collectively. It's a way that we use to avoid blame in business situations. So you could say, oh, I heard we made an error. What are we doing to fix this? Even if it's the other person's fault and they were the ones to make a mistake, it's much more polite to say, oh, I heard we made a mistake on this. If you're replying to someone else's email for the first time, a good way to start your reply is by saying, thank you for reaching out, or thank you for getting in touch. If someone else is following up with you, and let's say that you haven't responded to their email for a while, you can respond by saying, thank you for following up. Or, thank you for circling back to this. It's just a polite way to acknowledge that you've been a little bit late responding, but you're circling back to them now and thanking them for getting in touch with you. If you need to make a request or ask someone to do something, there are several polite ways you can do this. First, you can say, would you mind sharing your thoughts on this? Or you could say, in the email, would you mind sharing your thoughts on the attached? Now, the attached can be used for any attachment that you send to somebody else. So it's actually quite common in professional emails that somebody might just send you a document and say, please see the attached. And they're expecting you to open the attachment and review the information. So if you need someone else to do something, you can also say, I'd appreciate if you could take a look at this. Another great way to request someone to do something is to say, can you kindly, and then ask them to do something. So, can you kindly take a look at my report? You can use this in almost any situation that asks someone to do something. So, Can you kindly give me a response by Friday? Can you kindly do this task by the end of the month? Finally, if you need information from somebody and you're having some type of a problem, you can email them, explain your problem, and then at the end you can say, please advise. That basically means for them to give you information or please give you some type of a help. So let's say you're locked out of your account and you have to email a help desk to assist you. You can email them and explain your problem. And then at the end, you say, please advise. That means, please tell me what to do. Please help me. If you want to send out an update in an email, you can start the email by saying, I'm sending along an update on our discussion. If you want to update a bigger team on something more important, you can always say, we've made significant progress on, and then say what you've made progress on. We've made significant progress on our goals. We've made significant progress since our meeting last week. If you want to give an update to one individual, we often use the language to loop someone in. So I could email someone and say, I wanted to loop you in on the discussion I had with the director today. Or I can email someone and say, we just want to loop you in on our current status. So to loop someone in is to make sure that they're not outside of the information that everyone knows. It's like pulling them in and telling them the information they need to know. Two more ways that you can give an update to someone that are very common in English is to say that you're circling back with them. So I can email you and say, oh, I'm circling back after our discussion this morning. It's like I'm coming back to you after we've already talked. We also say to touch base. That's very, very common. So if you want to talk to someone, you just can say, hey, I would love to touch base with you about our upcoming project. Now you're ready to close your email. So it's always great to close an email with giving people an opportunity to ask questions. So if you send information to an individual, you can end by saying, let me know if you have any questions. On the other hand, if you send an email to a group of people, it's better to say something like, please reply directly if you have any questions. To where they reply to you directly instead of sending the question to this whole group. Another way to close an email is to just say, looking forward to hearing your thoughts. This is perfect if you've sent someone something and you expect them to reply back and give any thoughts or feedback. If you're asking someone for help or asking someone to do something, you can always say, thanks in advance for your help. That's thanking them in advance because you're expecting them to help you later. That's also very similar to the please advise that we already covered earlier. Thank you in advance for your help. Please advise. And then last is the professional email closing. That's what you put directly before your name. So the best one and the most common you can put is just thank you, comma, and then your name. So I would say, thank you, Ellen. You can also say best regards, kind regards, sincerely, or just regards. Any of those are very safe and they're very common in any professional setting. All right, so now you know how to write a professional email. We hope you enjoyed, and please like and subscribe to ZellenEnglish for more great business English content. Next time, we'll be covering doing interviews.